Today is time for my worst books of 2017. 2017 was the year that I really learned to DNF. So on this list there are 3 books which I read in their entirety and hated, and I'm going to tell you why. And then there was a few other books which I read the majority of and really hated and put down, and a couple of others wherein I dipped my toe in and was like, nah, that's enough. And that's just how I'm going to present the list. Also, I don't have a copy of any of these books anymore because I've got rid of them for obvious reasons, so you're just going to have to put up with pictures. The first book of 2017, which I absolutely hated, was Mad Girl by Bryony Gorgon, which was a book which promised big things and delivered on approximately zero of those things. This was a book which purported to be about mental health and OCD, and was instead about how much it sucked for Bryony when she was partying, doing drugs and staying up too late with all of her weird celebrity mates, and how sad this all was for her. The content of the OCD portion was this much, and the other stuff was this much. Every time Bryony started to actually talk about her OCD and really list all of the really horrible intrusive thoughts that she had, whenever she talked about therapy or getting any kind of help or how she really actually felt, I was totally there. I was down for it. But there was just so little of it that it could hardly justify this book being a memoir about OCD, because it's just not. There are better books out there. Spend your time on something else. The next book, which I really did not get along with in 2017, was The Driver's Seat by Muriel Spark. What did I read, guys? What is this book? I do not understand. That was the primary reaction that I had to this when I finally closed the back cover of it, was I don't understand. And I think, having, had time to reflect on it and look back, that's because this is one of the most pretentiously written books I have ever read. This is about a woman who one day up and decides that she is sick of her horrible little job and her horrible little existence, and that she is going to change her life, go on holiday and find some sort of ultimate ending. And that's exactly what she does. We follow her as she goes and very rudely buys a dress. We follow her as she randomly meets people on the plane, which she seems to have these significant revelation moments with, and they are never mentioned again. Then we see her getting to the hotel and hijacking a little old lady for a shopping trip. And finally there's the thing that happens at the end, which I can't tell you about because it would spoil the book, although I don't know how you can spoil this book because there's just so very little that happens in it. It was such a pointless, pretentious little ditty. There was absolutely no need for the high lofty language. There was no need for the sentences which all felt like they needed to end ... I just why? It was awful. I don't think it's me in this particular instance. Sometimes it is. Sometimes I read a book and I think, that went way over my head. Sometimes I read a book and I think, that was trying to go over my head and instead it's going into my bin. And the last book, which I suffered through the entirety of in 2017, was A Study in Scarlet by Arthur Conan Doyle. Don't. Sherlock Holmes fans, just don't. Don't do the thing that I know that you're dying to do, which is tell me that I should like this because it's the origin story. I don't like this because it's poorly paced and badly written. Like everybody else, when Audible brought out the complete collection of Sherlock Holmes books read by Stephen Fry, I nabbed them immediately, because why would you not? And thus I embarked on A Study in Scarlet, thinking maybe just maybe there's something I'm not getting. Maybe Stephen Fry can opened doors in my mind about this novel, which I had started 3 or 4 times previously and was never able to get all the way through. Spoiler alert! That didn't happen. Without telling you anything about the mystery in this book, because it's a Sherlock Holmes mystery, okay? Somebody died, he solves it. What I can tell you is that this book does introduce Holmes and Watson, and it does explain how they came to live together in Baker Street, and it does introduce Lestrade. But it also, in the middle of the book, right in the middle, when the pacing's supposed to go, we go to Utah, and the whole middle of the book has neither Holmes nor Watson in it. It's characters that we do not care about, and then we come back and Holmes then re-explains everything that we've seen in Utah and how that somehow magically solves the mystery. It's a terrible, terrible book. And now we move on to the DNFs of the year. I'm very proud of myself that I was able to completely learn how to DNF in 2017. I had been dabbling with it in 2016. I had thought that I knew how to DNF and that I maybe put down 1 in every 10 books that I wasn't getting on with after reading 2/3 of it. But no, in 2017 I solidified this process. I really learned how to DNF. And I did DNF upwards of 10 books, I think, in the year, and it was so liberating. That said, the first book that I'm going to mention is The Perfect Neighbours by Rachel Sargeant. I am so sad about this book because I wanted to love it so very much. It had everything that I wanted. It had a mystery plot. It had a British woman who became an expat in Germany, a British woman who was becoming an other in somebody else's world, in somebody else's country with their customs and their language and knew nothing. And they were teachers. I even liked that. I was so there for it. Didn't deliver. The language was clunky. It was really show not tell. I could not believe anything that the main character thought or said because she lacked such agency, and the entire plot hung on the fact that people were not communicating with each other. If the main character had just told her husband or anybody else around her what she had seen / heard, the whole thing would have been solved in the first third of the book. And I really don't like that conceit. It's sloppy, it's boring, it's been done, it's just lazy writing. So, unfortunately, I gave up on this one. One that it was much easier to give up on was Local Girl Missing by Claire Douglas. This has quite decent ratings on Goodreads, and I don't get it, because I found the entire thing to be very surface level, and the main character is just, how do I put this? She's a mean girl. She's a mean girl who's trying now to be a nice girl, who can really only think about herself and her relationship, and clothes her attention seeking and grief over her lost friend. Not even going to bother going into the plot of this one, just the title says everything, and it's one of those huge trope novels that came out in 2017, which I generally like, of person who has left their hometown and is dragged back and has to now adapt their personality, or try not to adapt their personality, I guess, having found themselves as a person back within all of these familiar things and these people who had treated them horribly and didn't see them as a whole person when they were younger. If you want to see this done well, go and read Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. Don't read this one. This one's bad. Which brings me to The Other Girl by Erica Spindler. I'm sad about this one because Erica Spindler does have quite a long backlist. She is very popular. I was really looking forward to it. The writing, it was like reading a self-published book which had not been beta read or edited or had anybody else's opinion voiced on it before it went to press. It was like Erica Spindler had sat down and decided to write a sassy heroine and some really hot sex scenes and she did it all in her back room, and then she went, yes, this is amazing, and she published it the next day without checking anything. It was just bad. There are some phrases that I never want to read again, but they're burned into the inside of my brain, and I have run out of brain bleach this year. Oh hey, last year. That sounds really good, doesn't it? 2018 is going to be a better year. And the final book that I want to discuss is The Mirror World of Melody Black by Gavin. Extence. This was actually recommended to me from Claire at the Book Fox, and as previously discussed in a video which I'll link up here in the cards, Claire and I, when we buddy read or when we recommend books to each other, we either really love it or we really hate it, and there is not very much in between. This was the exception. I loved the writing. This is the first one of these DNFs where I can genuinely say I loved the writing. The characters were really slowly unpackaged and unfolded. There was a lot of really intriguing things where I was like, oh, now what is she going to do? But there was no plot. And before you say it, I don't mind a novel with no plot if I know that that's what I'm going into. This novel, however, promises that there will be plot, that there will be a big mystery plot, and there is a death in the first 10 or so pages, and the whole tone of it leads you towards mystery, but the bulk of the actual information in the book leads you kind of to contemporary fiction. It was getting too confusing and too pointless. I am up for pointless forays into things. I'm going to say this and people are going to shout at me, but Virginia Woolf, To the Lighthouse, has a lot of what seems like on the surface to be very pointless interactions until you start to piece them all together, and then your mind is blown by what the author has done. Gavin Extence, however, seems to have pieced together all of these little pointless interactions between people in the hopes that they will somehow resolve themselves into a poignant framework, and nope. I was really sad to DNF this one, though, to be perfectly fair. This one was really difficult for me. I kept it on my currently reading shelf on Goodreads for ages, but yeah, that it didn't work. So those are all the books that I didn't really get along with in 2017. I hope that you take away from this video don't buy any of these books. No, I'm only kidding. You buy these books if they sound like they are your thing. Please do tell me what the worst book you read in 2017 was, and link me to any of your videos about it in the comments. I am going to link you up here to Joss's worst books of 2017, which kind of inspired me and gave me the guts to actually just finally press the publish button on this video, because I needed the help. I really did. Also, it's informative, hilarious, and so sassy, and you need to just go watch it. Go watch it. And I'll see you guys next time.